you're in FP&A, you've probably felt stuck at some point, like you're just crunching numbers without making any real impact on the business. I've seen this pattern across hundreds of finance teams I've trained at companies like Google, Merck, and Lowe's. And what I've discovered is that every FP&A team goes through 4 distinct stages of development. Most teams get trapped in the early stages and never progress to where they can truly drive decisions and create value for the business. So in this video, I'm going to break down the 4 stages of my FP&A maturity model, show you exactly where your team currently sits, and give you a clear roadmap to advance to the next level. Let's get into it. The 4 stages of FP&A development are data focus. You focus on sharing accurate and timely data. It means you're mostly backward looking. Then story focus. This is about the insights and the story behind the data. Third stage is strategy focus. Here you link strategies and tactics across the company with financial outcomes. And lastly, there's the proactive value creation stage. Here you make concrete recommendations and your work meaningfully contributes to accelerating growth and raising profitability. Now, let's take a closer look at each stage. At the beginning of your FP&A journey, it's all about the data you work on, making sure it's accurate and on time. However, at this stage, leadership sees you as the numbers people rather than strategic advisors. How do you know you're in stage 1 data focus? You spend most of your time creating accruals and preparing your actuals rather than on analysis and forecasting. You feel like you're always behind, constantly playing catch up. If you look at how much time you're spending and where, and you track that throughout the month, you'll realize that you actually spend more time on actuals than on forward-looking work. Another sign is that your monthly or quarterly forecasting deck mostly stays the same every month. You're just changing the numbers. And lastly, you're still in the data focus phase when your forecasts are mostly top-down. And the finance team is creating them without getting much input from the cross-functional team. Before I go to stage 2, if you're looking to take your FP&A skills to the next level, make sure to check out my 10 most popular one-pagers for free using the first link below. These one-pagers contain strategies used by the world's leading FP&A professionals, so make sure to check them out. Now let's go to stage 2, which is story focus. It's all about the insights and the stories behind the data. How do you know you've reached that point? Your reporting highlights the metrics that matter. You're not just showing the same metrics every time. You're connecting the dots, and your analysis is deep enough to say, okay, we don't always have to report these 10 KPIs every time, because this month we realized that there's an issue in this part of the business, so we are highlighting these metrics. I'm not saying that you stop reporting some of the metrics. They may still be shown later in the presentation, but you highlight the metrics that matter. You connect the dots between different parts of the business to tell a broader story, because we have that bird's eye perspective that no other team in the company has. So connecting the dots is such an important part of how FP&A adds value. However, at the story stage, you're mostly focusing on financial metrics, those that have a dollar sign attached, and you're not yet considering operational metrics in your analysis and reporting. Now, if you find yourself stuck in stage 1 data focus, how do you progress to stage 2? Start by increasing your focus on business partnering. Try to meet with your most important cross-functional colleagues at least twice per month and ask them about their challenges and opportunities. This can make a big difference. When you better understand what keeps your business partners up at night, you may be able to figure out ways to help them. You can then take the challenges they share with you and think about how to use those inputs to improve your forecast accuracy. I recently ran a survey to find out what holds finance leaders back from doing more business partnering. The overwhelming response was that they don't have enough time to do it, since the month-end close, spreadsheet work, and creating presentations and reports already takes up most of the time. That's the case for you as well. You will only make it to the story focus stage if you can eliminate, delegate, or automate at least some of those recurring tasks. I highly recommend you do a few demos with leading FP&A software tools. I know from first-hand experience that they can make a huge difference by automating your dashboards, Excel reports, and even PowerPoint presentations. Next is stage 3, strategy focus. Traditionally, finance teams were responsible only for the data that comes from the ERP system and projecting it to create forecasts. That's revenues, expenses, and cash flows. But what leaders want finance teams to achieve now has changed. They expect more than simple projections. They expect that finance teams spot changes to trends early and provide visibility if strategies and associated tactics across the companies work as expected. To do that, finance teams need to start looking at leading indicators. Revenue, expenses, cash flow, essentially anything with a dollar sign attached, those are all lagging indicators. They show what happened, but not how. But to provide root causes and concrete recommendations, finance teams must focus on leading indicators. What are leading indicators? Well, operational metrics such as the number of qualified leads, manufacturing lead times, daily active users, calls to consumer hotlines. Stepping out of the finance silo then means embracing those leading indicators and focusing on connecting them with financial performance. If you do this, you can identify changes to trends before it's too late, point to risks and opportunities, and make recommendations about how to capitalize on or mitigate them. Once you have broken down those silos and have taken a look at how strategies and tactics of the entire company impact financial performance, you can use these to begin evaluating investment decisions, so you're really broadening your lens. How do you know your FP&A team is in stage 3, strategy focus? You understand what the strategies across the company are. That's the first step. And you know how strategies become tactics and even action plans. And crucially, how these tactics and action plans get measured and what success looks like for each of them. You have visibility of how each of these strategies is doing, and crucially, how finance can add value in helping your business partners make progress against these strategies. You also develop the leading indicators to predict financial performance. Lastly, a good indicator that you have reached the strategy focus stage is that leaders from across the company approach you and ask for your help with making major investment decisions. Now, what should you do if you feel stuck in stage 2, story focus? When you're attempting to move from the story focus to the strategy focus stage, it's important to increase the frequency of your meetings with business partners even more. Only by meeting more frequently can you deepen your business understanding and add more value. You should have at least a monthly one-to-one meeting with each of your key business partners where you have the space to explore different issues each month. That means this meeting has to come in addition to the touch points you already have to discuss forecasts, variances, and reports. Additionally, I highly recommend that you make it a habit to join operational meetings that your business partners already have. That way, you don't need to put another call on everyone's calendar and you get exposed to issues you may not yet familiar with. Your goal here should be to look for correlations between operational metrics and financial results. Operational metrics are what your business partners in the different departments are tracking and paying attention to. So try to figure out how changes in these metrics result in improved growth, higher revenues, better ROI, and higher profits. Finally, proactive value creation is about coming up with ways the company can change the way it's doing its business to mitigate risks and capture opportunities. It's all about making concrete, actionable recommendations that have a measurable impact on growth and profitability. How do you know you've reached the proactive value creation stage? Well, you identify risks and opportunities that get implemented and that result in measurable performance improvements. Your variance analysis, comparing your actuals versus your forecast, your budget, and your prior year, doesn't just state facts and then people move on. It goes further than that. It shares the so what. It shares what happened and why. And because you're digging down to the root cause, your insights then suggest clear actions that a company can take based on your findings. Leaders from across the company come to you for your advice now, not just on investment decisions where finance typically plays a major role, but really about any decision that has a strategic impact. Now, how do you get from stage 3, strategy focus, to proactive value creation? You first need to ensure you have the time for deep, meaningful work like in-depth analysis and frequent business partnering. This means you need to focus even more on automating recurring processes, delegating more, and spending as little time as possible on creating recurring reports. If you aren't yet using AI on a regular basis, now is the time to get familiar with use cases and get the tools that allow you to safely process confidential information. You know your team is using AI well when your managers can delegate tasks to analysts that they couldn't before, which then allows your directors and VPs to delegate more meaningful work to managers. It's important to realize that the best performing teams at the proactive value creation stage excel in 2 key areas: scenario planning and building trust. The best FP&A teams have a strong scenario planning process. This means thinking about likely outcomes such as what competitors might do, how the market could change, or how new products will be received. You then calculate the financial impact of these scenarios and discuss them with the broader leadership team and how you will respond if a scenario comes to pass. The advantage of scenario planning then is that you can spend more time making the right decisions. If you wait until an emergency happens, you have to make decisions in a rushed environment with less time for deep analysis. Scenario planning can have a significant impact on the quality of decisions across the company, and it's a great way for finance teams to add value. Additionally, it's absolutely crucial to build a foundation of trust with your cross-functional business partners so they feel comfortable sharing data with you, even data that could potentially be used against them. For example, when teams are experimenting with a new project, they need to share data early when you can still help them reach their goals and have a meaningful impact on the decision-making process. However, if they share data early, they make themselves vulnerable because you could use the data to argue for canceling the project due to poor initial financial results. That's why your business partners need to trust that you have the best interests in mind. So start with building trust. I hope this framework of the 4 stages of FP&A development gives you a better idea of where you're at and what concrete steps you can take to advance. My objective is to help you reach the stage of proactive value creation, or if your team is already there, to help you make the most of it and maximize your potential. Now you know exactly where you are and what it takes to get to the next level. But if you want to advance through these stages faster, I've put together my top 10 FP&A one-pagers that contain the most effective strategies and frameworks for mastering financial planning and analysis. So click the first link in the description to get access to these 10 infographics for free. And if you're looking to learn more about annual budgeting, then click here. Thanks for watching.